Hello, I'm Gordon Buchanan, and welcome to Beneath the Baobab, the Communities and Conservation podcast from JAMA International. In this episode, we travel to Zambia to investigate a different wildlife conflict to the ones we've already explored in the series so far. When we speak of dangerous species, the ones that immediately come to mind can be lions, crocodiles, and even elephants, and we've already spoken to those injured by those animals and even lost loved ones. But in Zambia, it's the hippo that affects many lives, and often tragically. The Luangwa Valley sees dramatic seasonal variations, and with a dynamic river system, fertile soil, and lush vegetation, it's the perfect home for a wide variety of animals, including elephants and hippos, for good and for bad, as you'll hear in this episode. I visited the country during the rainy season, which occurs from mid-November to April, and spoke to those coexisting with wildlife, with all the challenges that brings beneath the baobab. This is the Luangwa Valley in Zambia. The South Luangwa National Park is just 3 kilometres from here. At this time of year, we're kind of well into the rainy season. The entire area is almost flooded. If you walk in any direction, you're going to hit water fairly soon. An animal we should have spoken about before now, because it is one of the most dangerous animals in Africa, hippopotamus. In this area, people have, it seems, almost daily encounters with hippos. So I've come to this community that is very close to the river. As I walked in here, there was some hippo dung in the middle of the village. So I've come to speak to some of the community members that have had horrific encounters with one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. So Dennis, I've been hearing that in this area there's been increased hippo attacks on people, that it's actually quite a common thing. Can you tell me what happened to you?
So one evening I was coming from the field. As I was trying to cross, that's when the hippo hit into me. Then I fell. When I fell, I woke up, but then I fell again, and I couldn't move until some people came and picked me up and took me to the hospital.
And if you were, well, for example, at this time of day or maybe later, you and I are standing here and then we see a hippo coming along the bank, what should we do?
If I see the hippo, I need to avoid it. If it's coming to me, I need to run away, or just to find way of avoiding collision with the hippo.
The night that you were attacked, did you see it coming, or it just was it completely surprised you?
So when I was walking, I came very close to the hippo. I saw it very close. And because of its size and because of my age, I got terrified until it just bumped into me. I couldn't do anything.
So you've got an injury, is it on this shoulder?
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. So did it bite?
So I wouldn't know whether it bite me or whether it just hit to me, because of the way I was frightened and I was just attacked. So I don't know whether this is the impact of the attack or whether it was the bite.
Having an encounter like that, you could have so easily have been killed. Does that change you? Are you fearful when you come out and you want to cross this side? Are you worried that something like this might happen again?
So because I went through the attack myself, I always have fear, especially each time I cross this stream or I come across the hippo, because I don't know what can happen to me. And I'm using that also to educate to my friends that they need to be very careful when they are passing here, because the hippo can be dangerous. So what is happening is that because across this stream there is our fields, then there are also relatives living on the other side. So we cross a lot, either going this side or going the other side, to check on our fields and to visit our relatives. But and because people nowadays, they stay in small places, so you have to find time to visit them. But as we cross, And because of the rains and water, these animals are all over. So it's always a risk. You don't know whether you'll be okay or whether you meet another hippo or maybe other animals or crocodiles. But because we have no choice, that's our life. We need to cross going for food or seeing our relatives. And also those people coming across, and especially during the season, people find it very difficult because they have no choice. They have to pass here.
Are there benefits? Is there a plus side to living alongside wildlife? Because it sounds like just negative. Living alongside hippos, they're dangerous, they kill people, they injure people. But is there anything positive to come out of living with hippos?
Yeah, so yes, there is some benefits that we get from wildlife. Yeah, but the problem is that when you are attacked, there's nothing that you get. Of course, the game rangers will come, either they chase them or they kill them. There's nothing that you get. When you go to the hospital, you have to pay for your own cost. But anyway, there is still some benefits because these animals make tourists come, and when they come here, they pay money, which is helping some people here.
These encounters, or at least sightings with hippos in this community, are almost daily at this time of year. I've come to meet a young lad, Goodson Jerry, that just a couple of years ago had a life-changing encounter with hippos not far from where he lives. I've been travelling around different countries, different communities, speaking to people about human-wildlife conflict. So people that have had crops damaged by elephants, people that have been lost goats or cattle to lions, leopards, people that have been attacked by elephants. But can you tell me what happened to you? What was your story?
18.
I was going to visit my grandmother because by then she was at the field. So as I was going there to see the grandmother, I heard some sound of people shouting "Domondo, Domondo," which is a hippo. Domondo is a local language for hippo. So I didn't know whether people were just playing and so on, and I continued walking. Then later on, he passed on a slippery place, and then I fell. And when I fell, I just saw something tramping on me. So the hippo tramped on my leg, and then also on the other side, I found I was damaged, but I don't know. And after that, then I was attacked by my two legs and somewhere here, and then I fell unconscious. And then some friends came and found me, picked me up, and the local scouts and took me to the local hospital. From the local hospital, they took me to the urban hospital in town, where I was attended to.
And was the care that you received, did your parents have to pay for that, or did you get any support at all for the time that you were in hospital?
So the sister to my mother helped to pay for all the medical expenses. There was no another person who provided help, but the sister to my mother paid for the expenses, including the mending of the wounds.
And is it something that your parents or older people in the village told you when you were a small child, that if you see a hippo, this is how you behave, or be careful when you're walking early in the morning or in the evening? Is that something that people would generally tell their children?
Yes, as I grow up, I've heard about the hippos, either from my parents and friends. But what I've heard is that a hippo is dangerous. You have to be careful when you see it, because sometimes it kills fishermen, it hits the boats when they are fishing. So those stories have been explained to him and others. So they know that the hippo is a dangerous animal, and that each time you see it, you have to be careful.
And in the village, in this local community, before this attack, did you hear of people that had been attacked or killed by hippos?
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of incidences around here that people have been attacked by hippo. Either they were going to Luangwa for fishing, or when they were maybe trying to collect some wood.
And now, in the village, you're 18 and you see children moving around the village. Do you warn them about the dangers, especially the dangers that come from hippos?
Yeah, so I've been explaining to them. There are times when the children try to chase the hippos. So I've been telling them that this thing is dangerous. So please avoid. Yeah. So I do tell others about the dangers of hippos.
Yeah. When it comes to the animals, is this part of, I suppose, your culture and tradition that you live alongside wildlife? Do you have I'm trying to get an idea of whether people feel that nature is part of their lives, and there's sort of part of, I suppose, part of what it's your experience of living in this part of Zambia. That's your world. The animal and the animals are part of that world.
My feeling is that we need to stay away from the animals, and if possible, if the government can put some fence around the village so that the animals don't really come through the village.
Obviously, this injury is a life-changing injury. What in life does this prevent you from doing that you would like to do? You're still a young man. How has it changed your life?
So this accident has affected me in many ways because now I can't really play football with my friends that I used to do. Even when going to school is a challenge. They have to help to lift me to go to school. And then I'm also unable to do a lot of other things to help my mother here at home, because now I'm like disadvantaged. I'm no longer strong to do certain things for my parents.
Yeah. But if there was some things that could happen that would help keep people safe and to prevent this from happening again, what would your recommendations or suggestions be, given that you know firsthand what it's like, or the cost that some people pay?
The best way to avoid more human-wildlife conflict is that people need to learn to coexist, to stop disturbing them. When they are passing through our areas, they should be given space without being harassed so that they don't become dangerous. Then, for people that might be involved with human-wildlife conflicts, they need support. Like for me, what I would appreciate is continued support so that I can finish my education.
I think in many ways this Goodson story is more shocking than any that I've heard. Overnight a young lad's life was completely changed. I don't know. I think the thing that sort of is upsetting is that as severe an injury as that was, with the right medical care, he could be, his leg could have been put back together. It was sort of, it was a severe but a recoverable injury. So it just feels, it's such a great shame. You think, okay, the medical care that could do that doesn't exist. But it just makes you think, God, we're so fortunate in, where I come from. If something like that happens, people can be, break every bone in their body and sort of almost make a full recovery. And for Goodson, it's not just changed, his sort of physical prospects, but, he says he's in fear. He's not sort of, a happy-go-lucky kid. He's living with a disability, something that is really going to change his prospects in life. So I think even for him to say that, well, there are benefits to living alongside wildlife. yeah, if you were to ask him in his heart of hearts, he'd say, okay, take away all the benefits and you'd be completely sort of restored to sort of physical health. What would you rather? And I think he'd, forget the wildlife. He'd rather be, fully functioning and have the prospects that he once had. So I feel for it. Yeah, it's really sad. But yeah, for Goodson, his whole life has changed. And is something like that preventable? I think possibly not. This in the Luangwa Valley, it's got the highest density of hippopotamus in the country, and the population here has boomed. There's 10 times more people living here than there was in the 1980s. So it's a combination of human population going up, wildlife population going up, and in some areas, people and wildlife sharing the same space. So these things are sadly inevitable and maybe unavoidable. I suppose with education, sort of vigilance and awareness, you can reduce the instances of these things happening. But if you've got hippos, one of the most dangerous animals in Africa, and people sharing the same space, these things, unfortunately, they will continue to happen. I've come to another little community a bit further away from the river. At this time of the year, it seems to be that hippopotamus is they're the number one concern for people. And you can almost predict where you might see hippos because they never stray too far away from the lakes and the rivers. But when it comes to elephants could show up just about anywhere in this part of Zambia. They could be in the national park, they could be close to the rivers and lakes, but they could also show up in one of your crop fields. And that's exactly what happened to the man I'm about to meet, Tindi Zulu. He had, a devastating encounter with an elephant while he was farming. Where did the accident take place? Was it close to where you live?
So the accident happened at the farming area called Ndombo. So what happens is that we have some huts there where we stay during farming time. Mm-hmm. So like on this day I came to visit here in the village, then I was going back to my field because that's where I was staying during the farming season. Then in the process I met the accident. So as I was walking on this road, I saw there was an anthill on the roadside. Then as I was walking, I saw a young elephant, a baby, crossing the road. So when I saw that, I stopped. I said, is that small elephant? Maybe it must be with the mother. So as I was still thinking, the mother came into the road. And then it saw me. It started chasing me. So as I was running, lucky enough, there was a tree like this one which was fallen. So I fell under it and tried to hide myself. But because then the elephant was coming behind me, it came to step on my legs. And then it passed. And then it wanted to come back so that it sees where it stepped on something. Then lucky enough, I pushed myself a bit. Then it stopped when it saw the baby elephant walking. And then lucky enough, the baby elephant went in front, and then the mother decided to start chasing and going with the baby. Mm-hmm. So that saved my life. So because now I couldn't do anything, later I tried to shout, no one, because it was in the night. So I slept under this place. So early in the morning, when the other people were going to their fields, that's how they found me and picked me. So what happened is that after at Pata General Hospital, when they looked at the damage, it's like the bones were completely gone. So they couldn't really manage to do any mending. They tried to put some stones around to try and hold it, but then they realized it can't happen. It was not really working, and then the leg started rotting. Mm-hmm. So lucky enough, the sister decided to say, no, let's transfer him to Lusaka. to the University Teaching Hospital, which is our big hospital in the country. So when they got there, they also tried to look at it, and then they saw that actually the infection was spreading. And by that time, it was almost coming closer to here. So they said, no, looking at what was happening, they couldn't mend the bones to keep the body. So the best thing was to amputate so that they can block the infection from further proceeding. So he was saying that if they went early, maybe they could have cut from here. But by the time they were at Lusaka, the infection had really spread. So they ended cutting the leg from somewhere here.
And was there any support from the government or from the authorities to help pay for the care or to help afterwards?
I've not received any help from the government from the time it started up to now. Just that the help of the vehicle taking me from the field, from the accident to the hospital, but otherwise there's nothing up to date. No any help, nothing.
Some people that I've spoken to about the wild animals, they feel, well, there's benefits. There's benefit that comes from living with animals, having a national park, whether it's jobs for people. But is there any benefit living as you do now? Do you get any benefit from the wildlife in the area?
So wildlife is good because it brings tourists who come to see them, to see the animals, and when they come, they pay some money. And that money helps those who are working maybe in the lodges and to do some development. Yeah, so animals, bring money here. They bring money through those people who come to see. So that money helps in one way or another.
I was just wondering if you have hopes for the future. I know it's obviously incredibly difficult for you at the moment. You're limited on what you can do and how you can even just look after yourself. But what does the future look like for you? I know it feels like a sensitive question to ask, but I'd like to know whether you have any hopes for the future and how things could change for the better.
So what I see in my future is having a lot of challenges because I can't do much. But what I'm thinking is that the way I'm staying here, because there is nowhere I can go, but if I can have like a small business just like by the roadside, where maybe I have like a small shop so that I can be able to sell something so that I get some money to support myself, then that can make me better, can make me happy.
I caught up with Rogers Labilo, literally underneath the baobab. Rogers is born and bred in the area, and as a conservation and rural development expert and board chair of the Zambian CBNRM Forum, he plays a major role in advancing community-based natural resource management, not just in Zambia, but regionally and globally. I know that the whole podcast series is about the coexistence challenge and human-wildlife conflict. But if we forget about that for the moment, if I forget everything that I've learnt here speaking to local people and just driving through from the towns into the villages, into this sort of buffer zone and into the park, you see it looks, I know it's far from perfect, but it looks like this perfect scenario where the sort of wildlife and people just blend. But obviously the human-wildlife conflict is the sort of biggest concern for people. But it seems to work here maybe as well as we can expect. I mean, how big an issue is human-wildlife conflict sort of in an area like this?
So you may need to appreciate that from time immemorial, we are Kunda people who live in this place. Traditionally, we are hunters. Our ancestors were hunters, so they used to live with wildlife and their interaction. So there's a lot of good things that we get from wildlife. Yeah, apart from the problem that we encounter as we interact, some animals have been hunted for meat, food, some for medicine, and some just for cultural interaction, that relationship with the wildlife. So yes, we appreciate, we understand that because of the increase in human population and also the increase in wildlife, there is sometimes our relationship has been unfair, especially when there's an accident that happens. But above all, we still see wildlife as part of our culture and our heritage. We see wildlife as, like I said, as part of us, as part of our culture, as part of our establishment. Of course, because of the modern laws that successive governments have been putting in, at sometimes people have seen that alienation between themselves and the wildlife they call theirs because of sometimes the laws. But we still realize that wildlife will continue to be with us as long as we are here living on Earth. Will continue to be interacting with wildlife. So we look at wildlife as part of us. And yes, we understand. And yes, maybe not tolerating the wildlife, but because we appreciate that there's nowhere the wildlife will go. In fact, we know that wildlife lives where there are people. You can check around where there are people, wildlife finds peace. So, and as we have been interacting around the park, you can see that the animals here are very friendly because they interact with us. But of course, sometimes there are bad days, there's an accident. And of course, people get angry when someone is injured, is killed, or crops eaten. But I think the longer term thinking is that we'll live with the wildlife for generations to come.
Yeah. And I get the impression that, there's wildlife everywhere, and big animals like, as we know, hippopotamus, elephants, sort of, I suppose, the sort of public enemy number one when it comes to human-wildlife conflict. It's actually amazing that, given how many people are here, how many elephants and hippos are here, that there's not more negative interactions. It seems that sort of, that people have worked wildlife into a sort of modern existence, and not just accept and appreciate, but sort of realise that there's the benefits. Wildlife is seen as a benefit to this local community.
Yes, we look at wildlife as part of our economic mainstay. Without wildlife, I think most of our lives would have been vulnerable. Personally speaking, myself, I'm a product of incentives that come out of wildlife. I was able to go to a school that was financed basically from income from wildlife. So we look at wildlife as part of our economic, mainstay. We look at the wildlife economy as part of, an economic activity that we need to do. And as you can see, our area, looks better because through wildlife we have a national park, which is our reserve and the game management area, and because of the income, the employment that people get, it contributes to our well-being. It contributes to our well-being. No wonder that people still continue to appreciate, and anybody else who tries, to break in this relationship between them and wildlife, people here get very angry. There was a time that at some point government wanted to translocate some animals from this park to other places. People protested. Why did they protest? Because they know that without the wildlife, their pride will not be there. Because we look at the wildlife as our wealthy, as our bank. That's our bankable asset that we have is the wildlife.
Yeah.
And it contributes to our lives.
What would you say is the biggest challenge here in Zambia when it comes to coexistence?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge between human and wildlife interaction is that in the process of interaction, sometimes there's an accident, either especially when it comes to the loss of lives. But sometimes the hippos, walk into somebody's field. The elephants, sometimes they would destroy crops or huts. So of course, there's an outcry when such thing happens. But above all, I think through the community-based natural resources management program, we have been trying to integrate and reduce the tension between people and wildlife and nature in general, so that we are able to coexist. Because like I said, there's nowhere we are going to go, and there's nowhere the wildlife is going to go, because we have continued to live together. But human-wildlife conflict or human-wildlife interaction, we know it is going to continue for generations to come, as long as these people and nature continue to interact. So what we need to do is to look at how can we mitigate and I can be talking about the mitigation measures that we see as a way to reduce the conflicts around that interaction.
Mm-hmm. And what are those mitigation measures that are already in place, and what would you like to be implemented?
Yeah, so what we have been doing over the years and through the program of community-based natural resources management has been to look at locally designed human wildlife mitigation measures, such as one is the land use planning. Sitting together with people around the villages to plan our settlement, to plan our farming fields, so that you see we try to create corridors for the wildlife so that we can reduce, because the wildlife won't differentiate between a grass and maize. So if we don't plan our farming fields in such a way that the elephants corridors, for instance, or the hippo corridors are maintained, then there could be that. But the other alternative has been to, of course, raise awareness to people so they can understand the behavior of some of the dangerous animals and how to avoid, encountering into that. But also there are some what we call chili fencing, chili blastering. Those are locally, created methodologies that people use, or beating drums, something that they can easily do around their homestead. So, and we do elephant grain storage. These are stronger grain storage that the elephant wouldn't easily break into for self-custody of some of the produce. But I think the other important thing is to continue to encourage ourselves to be able to adapt at each stage, to be able to adapt to how to interact with the wildlife. Yeah, and one key other thing that we have come to appreciate is the issue of ownership of these resources. So as long as we, the people here, feel that these resources belongs to us and that we can be able to make decisions about them and then derive or generate benefits out of them, I think our reaction towards, when there's an unfortunate situation of an accident is different. We don't see the wildlife as belonging to the state, because as soon as we start looking at wildlife belonging to the state, then it creates more problems. But here, we look at wildlife and us as one, and that we have to continue to work together, to interact, and of course trying to appreciate that humans, we should be doing something more than the wildlife in terms of avoiding things that can escalate that coexistence in a negative way.
I was just wondering for you, over the last couple of days and hearing from the communities, does that just add more fuel to your fire to try and make things better and implement things that are really going to sort of be meaningful to these communities?
And indeed, for me, as a community representative, as a community activist who believes in empowering communities, I think what I've gone through the last few days here provide me with a lot of energy and courage to be open, to engage with our own government, our own local leaders, our traditional leadership, even at a global level. That they are here. Here we are sitting on a situation where people have to continue to live with the wildlife, but then they have to go through all these challenges. And if we don't find an answer, the danger is that people may become angry and upset with the wildlife, and then they might want to introduce land use practices that may change the vegetation, the habitat, and when all that changes, then the wildlife won't have a space. And we don't want to go that far, because we know that when we lose the wildlife, we would have lost our respect, because at the moment, that's the only asset that we have that we are proud of. We know when we lose the wildlife population, our respect as people here will be lost, because there's nothing else that will be able to sell. There's nothing else that will be able to give out to those friends or people who come to visit us. Yeah. So it gives us the energy to fight, of course, to engage constructively with all the players to find an answer. I've had the privilege to have traveled around many communities in Southern Africa, and I appreciate how much people interact with nature, wildlife in particular, and the challenges that they go through. And I think us as Southern Africans, we've resolved among ourselves, and that's why we work through the Community Leaders Network to promote sustainable community-based natural resources management programs. Why do we do that? Because we believe that people and their environment and their wildlife, they must continue to live together. And because the human population is increasing everywhere else in Southern Africa and the world at large, I guess, and also the wildlife numbers are increasing because of good conservation practices that we are putting in place. It means that we have to, to work on modalities that will reduce the negative impact that can come out of these interactions. And so what am I saying? Yes, it's true that in rural communities where there is wildlife, there are problems, there are challenges that people go through. Either they get attacked, or people losing lives, or people being maimed, becoming disabled the entire their life, or the loss of properties and so on. But these are things that we've accepted to live with. But what we need is additional incentives that can be created by the biodiversity industry, so that people don't really, we don't even want politicians to take an opportunity to change laws that will disadvantage or that will drive the wildlife into extinction because of wanting to mitigate the human-wildlife conflict. So what we want is economic incentives that are created that people can continue to love the wildlife as they've been doing. We need some mechanisms that should support, relief measures. If compensation is a too strong term, but we still need some form of, mechanism. People who get affected or people who get injured by the wildlife, through the local institutions, through the established systems, there should be some form of social support that should be given, so that the livelihoods of the people should not be curtailed because one of the lead member of the family either was killed or was maimed by the wild animal. No, we want those people to continue to live. And I think if we do that, for generations to come, I think our wildlife will continue to be there. And of course, saying that, I think my appeal is that, is to call upon for solidarity from our governments, our communities, and the global world. We need to work together because human-wildlife conflicts, interaction between people and wildlife are real and they're out there. And you can see it for yourself that these issues are real. So what we need is, I think, global solidarity.
Yeah.
We need to work together as partners so we can find a common ground that will flourish the existence of wildlife and also people in general.
I can hear hippos on the other side of the river here. Through the night I could hear the wild animals, but also I could hear the people in the community. And I don't think I've ever been anywhere that has, a big human population and has such a thriving wildlife population. Generally, the two do not go hand in hand, but I think here in Zambia is a really good example of how things, more things seem to be working than not. Obviously, I've spoken to people that have had these catastrophic encounters with wildlife, like people whose lives have changed, whose prospects have diminished. But you speak to Rogers Lubilo, you realise that's his knowledge, his understanding of the local community, understanding of the problems, that gives me a huge amount of hope, because you've got someone like him and communities like this that I think are on the right track, and everyone's working for that common goal, which is to see this sort of continue, people and wildlife living side by side, this sort of the coexistence working. It's not perfect. There are still people whose lives are changed and disrupted and impoverished by these human-wildlife conflict events. So I think the only change that I would see is that for people who are injured, people who lose loved ones, people whose livelihoods are damaged by wildlife, that they should be properly, fully compensated. I think that would help that relationship, so that when you speak to these communities, you say, well, okay, we try and stop these things from happening. We're all aware and we're vigilant, and we teach our kids about how to behave around wildlife. And should the worst happen, it doesn't destroy our lives. We are given the help and support that we need. And I think that is sort of it in a nutshell. For conservation to work, to solve, for it to become not a coexistence challenge, but just to be simple coexistence, there has to be this, not just the value in wildlife and the protection of wildlife. The wildlife cannot negatively impact on people's lives. It should just purely be a positive thing. There are real benefits culturally, traditionally, financially from living alongside wildlife. In a world with a growing human population, that seems to be the only solution. There's just not enough wild left in the world for animals to do these things, their own thing, and people to do their own thing. We are sharing this planet together, and there is enough space to go around at present. We just have to make it work better for both human lives and wild lives in the forests.
If you'd like to hear the audio version of this episode, just search Beneath the Baobab on your preferred podcast app or follow the links below this video. JAMA International are passionate about conservation and well-being for people and planet, and know it's crucial to open positive dialogues and share ideas. We'd love you to share this video. Please do so with the hashtag Beneath the Baobab on social media, or maybe just start a conversation with a friend. Next time in Beneath the Baobab, after 8 episodes travelling across southern Africa, I head home to Scotland to meet with the Beaver Trust and discover the challenges that come from reintroducing a depleted species to new locations in the country. I'm Gordon Buchanan. Thanks for watching.